Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be making a simple bread dough. This bread dough can be used for anything from a loaf of bread to rolls to baguettes. To start, we're going to measure out 210 milliliters of lukewarm water, around 36 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. To that, we're going to add 7 grams of instant yeast and 10 grams of sugar. Whisk with a fork to combine. Keep stirring until all of the sugar and yeast is dissolved. Now that all of your yeast and sugar is dissolved in the water, remove the fork and set it aside for 10 minutes. We do this so that the yeast has time to bloom. Now, to a medium-sized bowl, you're going to add 334 grams of all-purpose plain flour, as well as 10 grams of fine sea salt. Whisk thoroughly to combine. Now that your yeast has bloomed, bring it over to your flour mixture. It should look something like this, with a fairly thick layer of yeast on top. Add your yeasty water to your flour mixture, then mix to combine. You want to continue mixing until a shaggy dough forms, similar to the pizza dough. Now that a shaggy dough has formed, you want to tip it out onto your bench and knead just like the pizza dough. Continue kneading until you get a smooth consistency. Once you've got a smooth dough, shape it into a taunt bowl and place it into a lightly greased bowl. Then cover it with cling film or plastic wrap and let it rest for 1 to 1.5 hours, or until it has doubled in size. Now that your dough has finished resting, bring it back to your workbench and remove the plastic wrap from the top. Then punch it down to degas it. You want to lightly flour your work surface before you start working the dough. I'm going to be making mine into a baguette shape, but you can just as easily make yours into rolls or a loaf. If you would like to make your bread dough into a baguette shape like I'm doing here, all you will need to do is roll it out into a rough rectangle, then roll it into a log. If you would like to make a loaf of bread, all you need to do is exactly the same thing, but when you set it out to proof for a second time, place it into a loaf tin or a rectangle cake tin. This means when it proofs, it'll proof up the side of the tin and into the rectangle shape. If you would like to make bread rolls with your dough, all you need to do is weigh out your dough, then divide into equal pieces. I normally make my bread rolls around 80 to 90 grams. Once you're finished making your dough, if you're making a baguette shape, place it onto a lined baking sheet. If you're making a loaf, place it into your loaf tin or your rectangle cake tin. If you're making bread rolls, arrange them on a high-sided roasting tray. You will need to cover all of these with a tea towel no matter which one you're doing. This one needs to rest for an additional 40 minutes to 1.5 hours, or until doubled in size. Once your dough has finished resting and is doubled in size, place it into an oven that has been preheated to around 190 degrees Celsius. Cook for between 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how golden it is on top. If it's getting too dark, you can turn the oven down. To see if it's cooked, lightly tap it on the top, and if it sounds hollow in the middle, then it's cooked. Cooking times will vary depending on whether or not you're making a loaf, bread rolls, or baguette. Now that your bread has finished cooking, cut it up and enjoy. I like to cut mine in half and make it into garlic bread by adding a mixture of butter, garlic, and parsley to the top. But enjoy yours however you want.